Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom here from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. We're live 1 p.m. Eastern, so if you have questions, ask. But before we get into our weekly report, please don't forget to subscribe to our page. Check out our videos. This way you can get all of our up-to-date videos, our news. And if you're looking for more information on scrap, you can become a YouTube member, giving you the ability to get a lot of videos that other people don't and give you the ability to make more money on your scrap, especially all the hard work you put into it. So where are we on the markets? Wow, what a wacky few weeks. Last week, I'm here reporting that copper is almost going to hit $6 a pound, trying to explain how the different spreads work. 2 hours after I finish, if not less, 2 hours after I finished the report last week, what happened? Trump announced another round of tariffs, and we saw copper prices drop 20%. Jim Nalgren said it actually hit $5.95 for a split second. Yes, it did. And then it dropped down. And I'm going to read something. This is not sexy reading, okay? But it does do a really great job of explaining the copper spreads and kind of what happened. And I've spent a lot of time going over this last week. So I'm just going to read this. It's a text message from one of the buyers at the mills that I sell copper to. Okay. COMEX going up 90 cents when the LME didn't move, screwed up spreads. Most buyers widened their spreads to match the increase, or they switched over to the LME copper for those prices. Most of the widened spreads already had August business done when the market tanked late last week. So I'll pause. So a lot of copper sellers already locked their prices in for August off of the different spreads. Okay, so that's what that means. Meaning, if you had sold for August at COMEX minus $1.30 and COMEX was trading at $5.60, the copper was worth $4.30. Easy math. But at the new trading market of $4.40, that same spread would change the price to $3.10. So it's going to take 30 to 45 days to wash out these older prices, because when people locked them in for August, they had to fulfill those markets on August orders before they take out September orders. Spreads are now coming back to where they were prior to the run-up in prices. But there are so many buyers and sellers that still have spreads that people are working on an average of 2 spreads right now, both the COMEX and the LME copper spreads. So you as the seller, or me as the seller, right, that they're talking to me. So if you as the seller want to sit on the sidelines for a couple or a few weeks, it should work its way out. Otherwise, almost everyone will be protecting themselves from a volatile market being manipulated by the fear of on-again, off-again tariffs. Add in that there's an excessive amount of copper in the market because of the high prices, causing a high amount of volatility. So I'm just reading what someone wrote to me. Hopefully this gives you a little insight, because it's been very difficult for us to figure out. I'm glad you cashed in $4.10 per pound also. I think.
Shout out to being a subscriber.
Oh, Matt, your subscriber appreciates you. Hey, I hope you love those videos, and I'm happy that you listen to me cash in your copper. I still think it's a good time to cash in. I wouldn't be holding. I'm happy you got $4.10. We were paying at one point $4.30 per pound. And now I think, what are we at, Virginia? $3.60? I think we're at $3.60 per pound. So huge change over a 1 week period. Yeah, $360 per pound for Bear Bright. What we're paying at Rockaway Recycling. And we'd like to go a little higher right now, but this volatility is scaring the hell out of me. I didn't get real prices from people until yesterday. My yard in Tulsa, LV Malls Plain said, my yard in Tulsa went from 102 per pound to 52 cents back to 94 cents in 48 hours on copper wire. So did I. Essentially, I took my prices, right? So let's say I was paying $4.30 a pound. I lowered my prices to $3.10. That same afternoon, last Wednesday when we were talking, I lowered my prices from $4.30 to $3.10. And then the next day, once the market started to kind of recalibrate and settle, I increased them to $3.60. So I did the same thing. Within 48 hours, I went from saying, what the hell am I going to do right now, to increasing back up because we started to get some answers in. Philip Combs said, still at $3 per pound here for Bear Bright Copper in Alabama, shaking my head. $3.60 up in Rockaway. Yeah, you want to take a ride? I'd love to give you a couple of shirts. Maybe it'll be worth your while. $3.62 for number 2 copper in Central New York. Keith 102955 says, hey, don't forget, report these prices through the iScrap app. Tony getting $3.75 for Bear Bright in Kansas City, Missouri. That's a good price. We're hoping to increase to that in the next few days. John Wright, Right Way Recycling, my yard in Northeast Ohio, Bear Bright 205. Ooh, John, if you're paying 205, that's really bad. If you're getting 205, that's really bad. Please save your copper and drive out to Rockaway, New Jersey, because that's a heck of a lot better. Keith said Bear Bright $3.96 for Bear Bright in Central New York. You got some good prices, Keith. Really liking it. Keep the prices coming, and don't forget to report them on the iScrap app. So, anyway, look at these copper prices, right? I'm going to read off of an article here from oilprice.net. Copper prices surged due to the fears of a 50% import tariff and crashed 20% in one day after raw copper was unexpectedly exempted. This wiped out expected gains for U.S. miners. So I read an article about Freeport, FCX, Freeport. They do a lot of copper in the United States. That changed last week. That revision downward for copper cost them $1.3 billion in potential profits for this year. So their stocks, a lot of the U.S.-based domestic mining stocks, went down last week after this came out. It's super frustrating, everyone. I'd love to give you more information, right? I'm learning as we go. Like, I'm holding my prices back a little bit. Full disclosure, I really am, right? We're holding them back because I don't know where the hell these things are going. I'm having a hard time getting real data. We're a week out, so I'm starting to get numbers in. So I'm hoping to make some revisions to our pricing this afternoon. But I've never gone from $4.30 down to $3.10 in a day. That's never happened. Then increasing it by 50 cents. Really hard to figure these copper markets out. But let's talk about some other markets. Dennis Ward says, is there a market for the irony aluminum piece, that is the shaft that the motor is driving inside most motors? So we talked about irony aluminum in a video that we made last week. So that'll be coming out on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can learn that. Irony aluminum, it depends on how much aluminum it is. Generally, irony aluminum to me is a 50-50 mix, aluminum and steel. Once you get to a higher steel percentage, like 80-90% of the weight, you're probably just going to get a steel price. So you may want to clean that. But if you have things that are integrated too close together, it's going to be really hard for you to clean that irony aluminum. And irony aluminum is a hard sell because generally when you sell sheet aluminum, right, scrap yards are allowed up to 3% non-aluminum. So what does that mean? Could be steel screws, could be a piece of plastic. So once you get too much, right, if sheet aluminum is allowed 3% contaminants, what's going to happen when we have 50% contaminants? If a sheet aluminum price is 50 cents, it's not going to 25. It'll probably be a little over steel pricing. So if you're getting 100 a ton, let's say you're getting 5 cents a pound for light iron, irony aluminum, if you got 8 to 11 cents, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that because it's not a money maker for scrap yards. I don't make money on irony aluminum. It's really kind of a pass through. We kind of make 2-3 cents and go on with our day. So any other questions yet? No. So that's kind of the copper stuff. And here's another article that we read from Reuters. The U.S. spared refined copper from import duties due to its critical role in manufacturing and pressure from major players. Only semi-finished copper products like wires and sheet are going to be taxed. So when the copper's coming into the country, if it's kind of raw or it needs to be refined, they're no longer putting those tariffs on. That's why we saw the drop. So if the Chinese have refined copper that are, wire products that are finished, or roofing copper that's finished, or something like that coming in, those finished products are going to have the tariffs, but raw materials coming in here to be recycled and refined are not, which is what caused a major drop in the prices. And similar is going to be happening to the aluminum industry. Also from Reuters, U.S. aluminum imports now face steep tariffs aimed at protecting the dwindling domestic smelting industry. So they're trying to keep more aluminum inside the country. They're trying to keep more copper inside the country. And if you listen to any of the news, they're also trying to do this on other things like medications and chemicals and rare earth alloys, right? They're trying to keep these certain things in the country, and they keep referencing what happened during COVID and not having the supplies that we needed to, whether it was medications or mask material. They want to be able to repatriate a lot of this stuff where we relied on other countries. And that's one of the reasons that the tariff rates have gone from 3 to 4% up to 18% on average for goods coming into the United States. So we're watching that. It's going to be really interesting, and that's just what's happening right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things are going. Got a question? 69 Eric 86. Are brake pads considered a heavy automotive scrap? No, because the brake pads normally have non-metallics on them. Maybe you could get like an unprepared price, but I would lean towards a light iron price. And if you only have a few of them, your scrapyard probably won't buy them, or they'll buy them like a light iron or give you a couple of bucks, but you really need a lot of weight for those. Other markets, let's talk about catalytic converters for a second. We saw the platinum prices kind of pull back a little bit, not much. We also saw, let's see where I'm looking here. Yeah, platinum down slightly week over week, not too bad. When I look at some of the other markets, rhodium took a bit of a 10-15% hit, but we still are seeing that higher. So catalytic converters, I don't expect to see a huge upside for cat pricing this year, but I will say that with the big beautiful bill, with the ability for U.S. consumers to buy U.S. made cars and then deduct the interest from their taxes every year, that may spur more people to buy cars in the fourth quarter of this year and then going into next year, 2026. That may increase some of the demands. And if we start to see more hybrids going off of the lots, that's going to increase the demands for catalytic converters, which is a positive. That could start to increase the car supply domestically, which would be a positive, leading to more older vehicles coming off the road, more catalytic converters being refined, but more importantly, more higher condensed catalytic converters with materials being packed and put into these hybrids and new vehicles for higher fuel efficiency. That will help the catalytic converter prices. So what else we have? What do we not talk about, Virginia? We talked about copper, aluminum, brass prices. We've seen them dip below $2 a pound on a national average. I think yellow brass should be closer to $2.10 nationally. So some of this may be triggered by some of the prices we saw. I see some prices on here: $1 a pound, $1.75, $1.68. You should be yellow brass in the $2.10 national average. So this is down right now. Again, this may be caused by some of the reported prices after these big changes last week. So brass is following copper. Yes, you'll see a small revision downward, but a lot of people had a lot of these prices kind of baked into their equations. It was really only the major copper markets that got hit. What do you got? Keith, 102,955. I have a few catalytic converters. Should I save them? If they're not high grade cats, I don't know. What's your upside? If you have a $50 cat today, is it going to go to 150? No. Could a $50 cat go to 75 next year? Yes, that I do think. So, I would suggest contacting the team at rrcats.com, getting a quote for your cats. Go from there. Just don't forget, we don't quote everyone nonstop without buying stuff. So you're allowed to check in once in a while. But not too much. This way, we're not blocking you from not getting quotes, Keith. Thank you for asking. Steel, not fun. Steel prices continue to be in the doldrums. We're seeing John Wright says, I sell to the yard. They're at 155 a ton on shred. That's a great price, John. If you're getting 155 on shred, that's great. But if you're getting that $2.05 number on Bear Bright, you're kind of getting hosed. And I don't know who you're selling to, but those copper prices are poo-poo. Nathan Matthews says, still getting 200 a ton for shred in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Oh my gosh, what an awesome price. You know what? A lot of these really big shredders are also processing material and pulling their non-ferrous out of it. So they'll continue to pay higher, especially if it has non-ferrous mixed in. So that's a pretty good price. LB Malls Plane says, took in some steel on Friday, got 110 per ton for shred. That's good. I mean, we're paying 100 a ton for light iron right now at Rockley Recycling. So, kind of there, we don't have a shredder here, so we're not shredding anything, nor are we a steel yard. So those are some good prices, everyone. 110, 200. I'd keep that train going. When I look at the steel prices right now, I hate to say this out loud, but I'll tell you the rumor that's floating around. There's a chance that the president enacts a tariff on raw ore and raw steel coming into the country. And if that happens, I heard that we're going to see steel prices dropping 25 to 30 bucks a ton down. I hate to say thumbs up because really thumbs down. There's a chance that the steel markets get hammered. And when I'm looking at the building that's going on, I had to go and look at a job this morning. I saw 4 different construction sites. All 4 were based around residentials. So I saw elevator shafts with, concrete blocks. So you need a little rebar. And then I just saw piles and piles of plywood and 2x6s and 2x4s. So residential building does not equal commercial building, but even the commercial side of things, I read an article last week about Meta and Google building 4 to 6 million square foot warehouses in the Virginia area for their data centers. Again, each of them building 4 to 6 million square feet. I said, well, what are they building them out of? Prefab concrete walls. So they're not even using steel in the way that they would in the past. Sure, you're going to need steel for the, the higher walls, for the connectors, for the joists, for the roof, for the roofing system, right? But you don't have all steel buildings going up. You don't have, the equipment that's inside those buildings are, light gauge steel. You're talking about server racks, right? So, you need steel, but it's not like you have a machine shop going into a 6 million square foot facility that may bring in 10 million pounds of equipment. You're bringing in some servers, some racks, some aluminum powering that, copper wires, fiber optic cable, drop ceilings, drop floors, those elevated floors that kind of have the removable tile grids that have concrete in them. You're not seeing a huge steel demand, so you're not seeing that price upticking. And even as gas and oil has stayed down, I just don't see steel going anywhere. So I would move my steel as quickly as possible. And the one item I'm continuing to recommend holding is stainless steel. Nickel prices suck. Stainless steel prices suck. 304s at like 27, 30 cents a pound. I'd be selling this stuff as much as I could or as quickly as I can. From my point of view, but you could definitely hold on to stainless. The upside of stainless is a doubling of the market or a 50% increase within 18 months. The low side can't go much lower than it already is. I mean, from 28 to 22 cents. I'm not saving stainless. That's just because I don't have the space to. But I have 3 different scrapyard friends that are saving. One guy, I know he has 4 full loads of baled stainless. That's 42,000 pounds per load. So 168,000 pounds of stainless he's holding. because he goes, listen, I purchased it so much cheaper than I'm hoping to sell it. I'm just going to sit on it for a while because it doesn't take up space. It's condensed in one area. And if you have the ability to do something like that, if you have an area to save stuff, it might be a good time to do it. So scrappers, today is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. We've had a very interesting week in the markets. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our page. Download the iScrap app so you can report your prices and get our different feeds and news updates that are out there. If you have any other questions on the materials, on the prices, becoming a YouTube member, by all means, join us. Don't forget, like and subscribe to our page. We're here live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, I'll scrap you later.